The next assignment we're going to be doing is going to be a parallax animation assignment. Okay, so think of like Mario 1, like the original Mario, Super Mario, where your camera is moving sideways and Mario is moving sideways, or think of ones where you're moving like into a scene, those kinds of things. Where is this folder? Nope. There we go. Organize. 1900. X. Need to find ones from this one. So what we want to pay attention to is how the cameras are moving. We have foreground elements, we have midground elements, and we have background elements, okay? So think of like if you're driving down the road, or somebody's driving down the road, and you're in the passenger seat, and you look out your window, typically you're going to see stuff that's very close to you moving very fast. Stuff that's in the background is moving very slow, and everything in the middle is moving in this middle range, okay? We are going to be creating something along those same lines. Okay, now this one doesn't have any camera move on it. I mean, it does right at the beginning, but we don't really see it very good. It's very static, so it's kind of boring. Is that his final one? Yeah, there we go. So this one we actually like move into. Right. Here's Lion King. Okay, so look at the background elements, the foreground elements, how the camera's moving. All these things are moving in different paces. Oops, I think this one has audio too. Okay, so watch the background elements, watch the foreground, watch the middle ground. You'll see how they're all moving at different paces. They're all moving not all at the same time, kind of thing. Okay, so as the camera slides from here to here, you can definitely tell there's a difference between this element, which is closer to the camera, and this element, which is further from the camera. Okay, so this is what we're going to be doing for that next assignment. This is a intense one. I think that's the one he did. No. The Angry Birds style is just simple characters. This is what we did last semester, was more into the scene. Those other ones were more side-scroller type things. So this one we're actually building like a somewhat 3D environment. And that's what happens when you don't have your resolution. You can see how grainy everything gets right there, right? It's like, ugh. You work so hard on something and then you get that, right? That's horrible. Yep, they were all actually built 2.5D houses. Okay, look at the background, look at the middle ground, look at the foreground. You can see how all these elements are moving at different paces. So what is our planning for this one that we need to start thinking about is we need to create 5 different characters and then 5 different backgrounds that would accompany those characters. Notice how all the characters are pretty much the same. They're all simple heads, eyes, mouth, nose, ears, hair, something like that. The backgrounds for them should accompany what they would be doing, right? So I wouldn't have Crash Bandicoot in whatever that head one was. Something from a game, I think, but we wouldn't have him in that background. That wouldn't make sense. All the stuff here kind of supports Crash Bandicoot and what he's doing. You will have 3 things that are going to animate on your character. So in this case, we have the eyes, we have the hair, we have the ears, we have the teeth, we have the nose. Those are all possible things that we could animate with this character. You'll see the animation is pretty simple. Okay, there's nothing crazy here. For some reason, students like to make this very overly complex, and it's not. If you keep it simple, then it is simple. okay? So he's a simple character. Build 5 simple characters. You don't have to build them in Illustrator. You can just sketch them out just to get an idea of what they're going to be doing, and then draw 5 pairing backgrounds, 1 for each character. So if this one is Crash Bandicoot, I have a Crash Bandicoot background. If I have a Mortal Kombat looking like Scorpion head, I'm going to have a Scorpion background type setting, okay? We have to have a layering process, so we will have foreground elements, we'll have middle ground elements, we'll have background elements. Oops. That's what this was for in Illustrator. You'll see we have things that are going to move in the foreground, things that will be in the middle ground, things that will be in the background, and maybe even stuff that's in the way, way background. There we go. Way in the back. Okay, so this is the sky. This is like mountains in the area. These might be hills in the different distance. And then this is like the ground that our character would be bouncing along. Okay, this is a very simplified version. Obviously, yours will be more detailed. So start thinking about 5 characters. Start sketching those 5 characters out. Simple, rounded shapes, not full body stuff. I've only had one student who did like a full body character that turned out pretty decent. This is not it, but this one's pretty cool too, right? So you talk about a theme.
No more.
So it's obviously Stranger Things. You can see that like that's supposed to be 11, and then as she jumps, her wig flies off, and she's carrying the Egos, and then the Egos fly around her head, and then go into the Demogorgon's mouth. And then he goes away. All right, so there's a theme there. I have to just find his stuff. There it is. So this is another Crash Bandicoot, but he did the full character, and it took him at least twice as long.
Curse you, Bandicoot.
So on the student's part, there's definitely a lot of troubleshooting that he had to do because I don't go over most of what stuff he added to this. But the concept is still there. Right? So we didn't go over the full character, but we did go over different parts. So I would say like this is how you could animate his arms, and he would animate his arms like that. And we actually drew different poses. So like this pose and that pose are 2 different drawings that he did, and then just transition between those 2. And then getting this container to go like that, again, we have different deformers to use to get that to work. And then getting all this stuff to move. And then getting that to happen, again, was another like tricky thing. Like how did you get that to like turn to dust and then fall down? Yeah. Okay. But you got to have the time for something like that. Keep it simple. Just a head, 3 things that can animate on it, okay, and then a background. Keep it simple. Questions on that? Getting it ready? No? Yes, sir.
I was going to say, when is this?
This